Hey, what's up? It's Reggie, and I am your Central Florida notary. Yeah, I'm working on it. Don't hold it against me. I know. I need a haircut. My face looks a little weird. Not weird. It doesn't look weird, but my hair is overgrown. I normally get my hair cut every 2 weeks, but unfortunately, with time constraints yesterday, I wasn't able to get that done. A lot of good things have happened since the last week or so. In today's video, we're going to talk a little bit deeper about kind of the responsibilities of being an officiant and what things you can do to kind of get started, if you will, to really help. I don't know what that was. To really help with really setting yourself up for success from when you start this endeavor. Now, you guys know that at this point, and this is part of the update, I've done 3 weddings, 2 within the last week or so. And it is a very new endeavor for me, but I've gotten a ton of success in such a short period of time. And I'm going to share a lot of that success with you guys because it really is about saying it to yourself, and that means saying that this is something that you want out loud, believing it, and actually putting it in motion. You have to do more than just have that thought. Have the thought makes it internal. You don't feel like you have to do anything to get it out there. You don't feel like you need to put forth any effort. It's just a thought, as many thoughts are fleeting in our heads. But when you actually say it, you hear yourself saying it, and it puts a different perspective in pushing you forward into making it happen. Got a little Pride representation here. I know Pride was in June, a couple months ago, but I just really loved the colors on this shirt. Really amazing. Really like it. So, and I am a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. If you didn't already know, I am. But yeah, a lot of great things have happened since I decided to do this endeavor. I am still doing loan signing work. I'm also still doing notary work as well. And, there's been a slowness, a slow pace when it comes to loan signing work. And, part of the reason why I went into becoming an officiant and focusing on that a lot more is because of how slow it has been in, the notary signing. And you really have to be able to pivot. You remember that being a couple weeks ago, the word of the week? It's still the word of the week. Being able to pivot into something that's going to, kind of either 2 things. Allow you to be able to sustain, or you can have a bit of success where it allows you to thrive. So you just kind of have to work on, and the more hard work you put into it, the easier it will get, and the more it will morph into something that is sustainable and could potentially cause you to flourish. So to update you guys from last week, I think you guys saw the video. I think I was updated in real time about the young lady who that updated me. She messaged me and paid the invoice, which was awesome. I do my invoices through PayPal, and PayPal for some reason is holding my money. They were able to release it, but I'm going to a different platform now, and that's something that, once you guys get past the idea of doing it and you start putting forth an effort, you have to start looking for payment vendors and stuff like that, people who will be able to take your payments, because not everybody deals with the traditional cash. I know I don't carry cash often. There are some people who don't have Cash App, antiquated ways of being able to do things. You have to be able to figure out how you're going to take that payment. You can't just say, I can't take that payment. So you have to diversify how you take it. But that's going to be later on, maybe possibly in this video, depending on how the conversation flows. But that is something that is going to be later on in the setup process when it comes to, any sort, whether it's notary, not necessarily with loan signing agent, but with being an officiant, being, a contractor, self-employed. Okay. So So that was great. And the couple that I was also talking about that had reached out to me on that Friday, nothing on Saturday, they end up paying the $50 for to hold the date that night. So me and Carlos was out getting ready to get something to eat, and they, with literally no information, was like, hey, yeah, sent me the message. I called them immediately. They were like, yes, we want to go ahead and move forward. I was excited about that. I asked them to send me the venue address. I got no response, and yeah. I also picked up that same night. I picked up another officiant job as well, and it was actually on the same day. One was in the morning, which was the one that I initially booked, the one that I was talking about from last week's video, and then the other came after. So I was very excited about it, very happy, and it's my first two that I've done on the same day. There are many hours in the day, and it's definitely possible to be able to do it. So I was actually excited, to be able to make that happen. So one thing I learned is, from last week in the circumstances that I had, is you have to be very clear in how you set the expectation for people to, either pay you or, how goods and services are going to be exchanged. And that can be a little bit of a difficult conversation because you don't really know how people are going to take what you do. For you, it may just be aligning all the stars and making sure that you're fully explaining certain things. But to the customer, it could be overbearing. But you can't really hold yourself responsible for how they disseminate the information. The only thing you can do is control how you disseminate that information. Like not trying to be rude. You want to be direct, but also thoughtful. You want to make sure that you're accommodating as much as possible without, breaking your back to do so. There are a lot of elements when it comes to paying, and sometimes that can make the relationship weird, queered or whatever you want to call it, when dealing with customers. And you kind of have to not necessarily tread lightly, but keep in mind that the way you receive things isn't necessarily the way that other people will receive it. And sometimes you might have to reiterate certain things to get your point across, right? As long as it's not coming to an expense of you selling yourself short, I think all is to be understood. Okay, all is to be good. I did have another young lady that reached out to me on Thumbtack as well, which is where I get most of my wedding leads from. And the date that she wanted wasn't a date that I was available, and that really is the circumstance that allowed us not to be able to work together. But she ended up going with a photographer that I recommended. So I'm very happy that worked out. I would have liked to have been able to do the wedding, but I already have a wedding booked for the 3rd, and that is my main priority. So that had been booked before, and I am not at all in any way, shape, or form trying to make them clash in any way, shape, or form. I was a little disappointed because I did go out and look at some venues for her, but that was something that I had offered to do myself. It wasn't something that I, agreed as a payment on or anything. I looked at it as, hey, this is a service, and my intention initially was to try to win her over, to see if we can, because I made the suggestion for other days, or it was a shared effort among both of us because she really liked having a conversation with me, and sometimes that's all it can take for people to decide to work with you. And she was like, well, maybe I can do it the 2nd or the 4th. Would you be able to do it the 4th? And I was like, yeah, I'll be able to do it the 4th. I'm free all day that day. But, I told her, if it doesn't work out for you, I want you to get the date that you want, not accommodate me. That would be great, and I would love to marry you. And I said that right off the bat. You need to get the date that you want. And, it just turned out to be that that was the case. The third was the day that she wanted, and, she was able to find somebody else who were able to assist her. But much like, many things, people, things have a funny way of working out. Like with that couple that I was talking about earlier that ended up being two on Wednesday, they initially declined me and said no, they were going to go with the grandfather. And, that's more than okay. You have to be humble and say, all right, I understand. No worries. Let me know if you need to do anything else. Because maybe in a few years they could do renewals or something. Or they can say, we want to have a bigger ceremony. You don't really know until you interact with the customer. But anyway, because I reached out to them and I had, followed up with them. It was a last minute thing, and it turned out to be great. So go check out that video that I posted yesterday. I think you guys will be interested in it, and I think you'll like it. And I'm pretty sure you guys, well, I know I can tell that I was quite nervous, but I was starting to get, the feel of it because I was rocking back and forth, but that's also nerves talking. But it's very hard for me to stay in one place, especially when I'm in an environment that is different and, nerve wracking for me. So, but yeah, I booked those two weddings on Wednesday. I did have someone that canceled. I had an October 15th wedding, and they canceled for the reason of them having somebody that they knew that was a friend to the family that was able to officiate for them. So it was understandable. I told them I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much. And yeah, keep me in mind in the future if it doesn't necessarily work out the way that it planned to work out. So, so it's about, a lot of times it can be about establishing relationships in the future. I mean, obviously we want to be able to get that instant gratification of getting that customer, but it doesn't always work that way. And I want to also make sure that I put out this disclaimer, and this is for when you're setting prices and you're working with people. It is okay to be staunchly like, this is the price. Okay, it's okay to do that. It's also okay for you to go and say, you know what, I'm okay with taking a little less because of the relationship that I have with this person, or the circumstances that are around it. You have to understand and keep this in mind that you are not going to get rich from any one transaction. Like, you're not going to make $1 million off of a wedding. It's just not going to happen unless you marry and Jay-Z and Beyonce are doing their wedding renewals or whatever the case may be. That's the only way that something like that would happen. And even then, if you're operating on that level, your expenses are going to be a lot different than what a small business owner like myself is. So, 1 million might not even be nothing at the end of the day for you. But I say that to say we have to keep that in mind when we do the pricing, because the idea is we want to be able to make money. Yes, but you got to think about it. You got to put it in perspective. Being an officiant, you literally have maybe 15 to 30 minutes worth of work that you might have to do. Not including other services that you may have given, like helping with files or, these other things. That's really all, and you have to put that in perspective. So, you want to make sure that you're getting compensated for gas and all these other things when you're setting your price. But at the end of the day, you got to understand that put it in perspective. It's not logical to charge someone $200 for a show up and sign or a pop-up wedding. That's not logical, okay? Because it's really you showing up and signing. You have a declaration of intent that you do, and that's the only part. You're not doing an entire ceremony. You're not there for the hour or whatever the case may be. So you have to put that in perspective in making sure that you do what's best for yourself, the client, and your business. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say, make sure that you look at every opportunity you possibly can. Now, once you set the price, don't go back and forth. I don't because sometimes there are people who are going to nickel and dime you for the sake of that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with you. It's just that they're one of those people that feels like everything can be negotiated, and you have to be. You got to understand that that's part of the business. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's probably times where you saw something at this rate and you wanted to adjust it because you didn't like the price or whatever, and that's okay. That's fine. But, you know, you have to understand that people are people do that too. So it's nothing you can do about it. Um, so, but yeah, that it was very kind of. Oh, I was talking about So I did have the young lady that canceled, and then I actually got a call. Somebody hit me up on my DM. It wasn't a DM. I say anybody that directly messages or calls you either from an ad or whatever the case may be, they reach out beyond some of the advertising or websites like Thumbtack and Craigslist and so on and so forth, right? So I actually meant to ask this customer, and I probably will when I see them. Um, but right when I got a text saying, it might not have been like exactly the same amount of time, but after I got the text from the people canceling, I got a call from a young lady that was like asking me, "Hey, how much do you charge?" And they were in Kissimmee, and the show up and sign at the time, because I'm going to be honest, the more experience I get, the more experience you get, and the more experience I get, the more comfortable I am with setting, the rates. So at the time, and this is all information. If you're interested, you can go and look at my website. It was $100 for the show up and sign. It's in Kissimmee, and I charged them. So show up and sign is $100, and for the travel, I think I did $120 or $20 for travel. Probably could have done more, but it was kind of a rush thing that I did, and that was what I was willing to do. There's not going to be any rehearsals or anything like that. There's not going to be any rehearsals or anything like that. So, it's really minimal work. So, and that's coming up pretty soon. So I'm happy about that. And then the next week I have one on the 3rd, and then the next week I have one on the 13th, and then I have one on the 15th, and then I have one on the 1st, and then I have one on the 2nd, and I have another one on the 2nd. I don't have one on the 15th anymore, and then I don't have anything booked for now in the future. So there you go. So let's count how many weddings that is so far. One coming up soon. The 3rd, the 13th, the 21st, and 2 on the 2nd. So 7. And I've completed 3. So I have 10. I've done 10 in a span of 2 months. So that's what I mean about success. The success of being there. And I already talked to you guys about what my motivation was. Because I think it's important. It sets the expectation of why you're doing what you do. And I just wanted somebody who looked like me. The average black man, who's in the LGBTQIA plus community. I've not booked a gay wedding yet or LGBTQIA plus wedding. Come on. I don't have a preference when it comes to who I service, and that's the straight up honest truth. Other things that have happened. I picked up another client. Her name is Darlene, very sweet young lady, and I have been posting my videos to Florida Notary Networking, I think, and a couple other places, just talking about my experience, with weddings and transitioning into it. And she came across it, and she reached out to me and asked me, do I train? And I said, yeah, I do. So I do 5 sessions. 3 sessions, we kind of go over the basics. First one is introduction, basic. Second week, we kind of, I think we're going to go into the advertising and setting up how you want people to access you or reach out to you. Third week is we set those accounts up. We take time by setting those accounts up. We also talk about pricing. The fourth is a viewer's choice award. So whatever things that we've gone over in the past that you might want more information on, you get to pick. And the last one is kind of like a graduation towards like, okay, I think you're ready. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't need to be a 10-week course or any, at least in my eyes, because these jobs are really you learn as you go. You make the decisions, you see what works, you see what doesn't work, and then you tweak it as you go. So yeah, I got two new clients, Darlene, and then I actually picked up someone for a notary client. So I have an appointment with them at 2 o'clock today, and very excited, a little nervous about it. Why I'm nervous is because my personality is, if I'd hit it, as much as I heard no news is good news growing up, it actually brings me the most anxiety when I hear nothing from people that I communicate with. Like if I'm texting you, to give you guys an example, and I say, hey, we are meeting up Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. Okay. That's Tuesday, I do that. Wednesday comes, I'm like, that person ain't text me back. So I send a follow-up. Hey, I just wanted to know if you received the message that it's going to be at 7 o'clock on Friday. I expect, oh yeah, I didn't get the message, or yes, or whatever. It burns me up. It is a pet peeve of mine, and I understand that not everybody works on the same vibration or operation that I do, so it's fine. But it is something that is a pet peeve of mine. So maybe I need to work on that. But I'm nervous because there hasn't been a lot of communication between he and I. And then also there's been experiences that I've had in being a business owner where you will have people that will leave you hanging and not give you much detail about what it is they want you to do, and then it causes not necessarily confusion, but it's like I don't have a clear understanding what we're doing, so I don't feel comfortable with doing it. So it's really for understanding on my part, but what I'm learning is that is a part of the business. You are going to have hanging inquiries that are going to hang loose, and people aren't going to follow up with you about what their plans are. But the onus is on you to make sure that you do your due diligence to keep in touch or to show a sign of communication, because regardless of what they understood, you've done your part. You've done your part to make sure that you understood, or you explained yourself, and the onus is on them for them to say, hey, I didn't get it. So that's kind of the case. I mean, I've been in communication with the gentleman since yesterday, a few times during the week. So, but yeah, same thing with the other client that I had. I was kind of nervous too, and we had a very good session yesterday. And, I think it's kind of skepticism. It might be skepticism. I need to probably look into that a little bit more, because sometimes I can be a little intense when it comes to that, and that's probably not fair. So, and that's something I need to work on. So I understand completely that it might not be completely fair, because there's little to no information that I'm pulling these emotions from. Seems like a lot. What else, Reg? I do believe doing basic things like getting business cards. Some of the other things that I do as well, other than... so what I did to kind of set the pricing is I went around and I looked at what the market was charging. And, put information, actually went as far as, doing some research. And the average cost, it seems like, for a wedding in this area for an hour or more is about $125, $150. But you do have people that are on the higher side of that, $250, $300. But that's also because of the experience that they have. So if you want that overall experience and it's going to be great, you are going to have to pay for it. Uh-oh. Whoopsie. I don't know if you guys can hear me. So sorry. I don't know what the auto quality is going to be like, so I'm apologizing right now. But the average is about 125, 150, and on the higher end, it's about 250. But some of the small things that I think that it's imperative to do, because it all matters, is providing your couples with marriage certificates. It is not a real marriage certificate. They got their marriage license that they get from the state that they request from, but the marriage certificate, it's good to hand those out, because it's something from you to them. It's commemorative, blah, 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 blah. It's special. It's special, okay? And it's something tangible that they can take with them, because they are going to turn in that license, and it's going to take some time for them to get that back. Maybe a month or so. So this is helpful. I also have, what is this? Why am I spelling it? These are certificate holders. So I put this and that, and I use my best handwriting to put it together. I do have a binder which is downstairs, which I put all the wedding scripts that I create in that binder. And I just because, to be honest, if you get a pop-up wedding that comes up and they say this afternoon at 2 o'clock you need to be ready, you ain't got time to go write another one. Just use one of the ones you have and keep them all together. And I have document protectors for that. This is also my little notebook to kind of write down the information. Like when I'm doing my consultations, I do recommend doing consultations too. I put the information in here. This book, it doesn't really have any sentimental value, but I got this when I was in the military about 15 plus years ago. So I keep it. And I do write in it. Still has some blank pages in there, so that's cool. My recommendation also is to get set up with Universal Life or either American Marriage Ministries. I don't know any of the other ones. I do recommend getting ordained, because as a notary, the only thing you're able to do is a declaration of intent, okay, which is the I do part. And you can only charge $30 for the notarization. The other part, in terms of the minister fee, the fact that you do this as a service, not a minister fee, because that's not really what it is, but that, number one, adds the scholarly aspect to it, because you can use those platforms to learn new trainings. Like, for example, if you've never done a contemporary wedding before, they have some really good resource materials and, wedding scripts that you can use to pull from or use, depending on how soon the wedding is, So you can also use your Florida primer. Sorry. I'm going to look for in the, let me see, index. Marriages, page 38 through 39, in your Florida. This is going to be the death of me. Ooh, I'm pretty sure that was loud. In your Florida primer. So let's say it's a quick on the spot wedding and you didn't have time. You got a call. It's 4 o'clock. You're on your way home from work, and they say, I need somebody to marry me. You got your Florida primer because you like to read it sometimes for reading, and it gives you the ability to be able to. You'll have it, so you don't necessarily have to pull out a full entire thing. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit here. Certificate of marriage, so you guys can kind of understand. Florida is one of few states, U.S. states, that allow notaries to perform marriages. Maine, Nevada, South Carolina, and one parish in Louisiana are others. Unless the notary is also a clergy member, a notary performed marriage is a civil ceremony. So it's a civil ceremony. Okay? It is not a wedding. You cannot, as a notary, be like, it's going to be $150 for this ceremony, unless you are a clergy member, which is a ordained minister. It is solely a civil ceremony, which is the declaration of intent. Okay? So, the notary must ensure that the couple present a valid marriage license from a judge, court judge, or clerk of the circuit court. The notary may perform the ceremonies within the boundaries of that state. The notary responsibility for completing this certificate on the appropriate portion of the marriage license. The notary must return the license to the office of the county clerk or clerk of circuit court that issued the license within 10 days after the marriage is performed. So it says the notary must return. So you, as a notary, if you do it, must return it. Now, here's the thing. Although it says must, there are going to be some couples that do not want you to return it because they want to return it. And that's quite all right. As long as you have the disclaimer, hey, normally it's the notary's job to return it, but if you want to take care of that, then that's good. You know, the good thing about that is, number one, you're not responsible, because that's a big thing. You're not responsible for where it lands, and you've done your part with notarizing it. Okay, so you may happen to have that, but I like to do it. I like to take it. 2 of my weddings that I've had, they've taken it, and that's quite all right. I'm not going to argue with them about it. But one of the one wedding that I had, I took it and I did UPS to get a tracking number, and I sent it to them so they can then be able to track it themselves. Okay. So, relatives. Notaries may perform marriage ceremonies for relatives. The statute prohibiting notarization for a son, daughter, mother, father, or father does not apply to this situation because the notary is not notarizing the signature of the bride and groom. He or she is merely certifying that the couple has been joined in matrimony according to Florida law 1991, Florida Attorney General's option 91 through 70. So, if you're solely a notary, we're getting down to the nitty gritty of what you're going to get paid. I know I said all this, but it's in the primer, so I don't want to hear name the thing for nobody, okay? The solemnizing of the rites of matrimony, a notary public may charge the same fee that the clerk of court can charge for services, for like services, which is $30. And the Florida statute is FS 117.045 and 28.24 and 29. Okay, so get that ordained. Get licensed. I know a lot of people, and I had a very good conversation with my client yesterday. I know that there are a lot of people who are against the whole idea behind becoming ordained because they think of it as being a pastor or justice of the peace or, you know, this higher being of, you know, outside of yourself. But that's not necessarily the case. You can be ordained and not have a religious affiliation. My background is Southern Baptist, but I'm more spiritual than I am religious. And you're going to have to go on my personal Facebook if you ever, and I don't really talk about it too much, but I'll never go into deep detail about religion, but I do have a weird relationship with religion. And, you know, the simple fact is I think that religion is man-made. I think a lot of people share that sentiment. But you don't have to have an affiliation with the church in order to become ordained. So that's not necessarily the case. And a lot of people, and my dad was one of those people. And I think still is. Even though I sent him some pictures of the stuff that I did, and he was kind of like, I see you, son. I see you. Some people still are. But I think what has happened, especially since the pandemic and everything, has kind of progressed. I think that people have a different relationship with God now. And there's been many things that have happened over the course of the last 2 years that has changed our perspective. And we're seeing churches starting to go more into the people rather than it being something that was something that you had to go to. So the relationship has changed. What does that have to do with you being an ordained minister? In the instance of what I just read in the primer, that's it. That's the reason. Okay? Because again, $30 is all you can perform. Just like the court clerks. Okay? My husband sent me a picture of him Sitting at the let's see. This is Carlos. Oh, that is hilarious. um, but anyway, so little things like that, knowing your primer stuff, is definitely going to be important. Also, what was it? Something that just slipped my mind. Let me touch this. Oh, knowing about what it's going to cost to apply for marriage licenses in the state of Florida. Hold on, marriage. I should know this, but I don't know right off the top of my head. Let's see. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay. So the cost for a marriage license is $93.50. Okay. You can actually fees can be less if you up to $32.50 if you complete a marriage a licensed premarital course. Okay, and licenses are valid for 60 days. So don't get your marriage license beyond 60 days. If you are getting married outside that 60-day period, it's going to expire. So, and you don't want to. I wouldn't recommend the idea of having it. I'm pretty sure there have been expired wedding marriage licenses, but plan your wedding within that 60 days. If I'm talking to people who are looking to get married in the state of Florida, I don't know what it is for other states, but I know for Florida, it's 60 days. It's valid from the 60 days that you get it. And that's for those people who are out there who like to just be early risers, early adopters, trying to get, let me go ahead and get that out of the way. Make sure it's within 60 days, because it's not, it's going to expire. And both parties will have to go to the court and actually apply, because you have to do an oath, an affirmation, what's in our notary book, to say, hey, so technically you're married. You just have to find somebody to officiate or sign the document, and that's going to depend on the per couple, right? Again, that's why you have to have different packages. Show up and sign, boda sencilla, boda classico, so on and so forth, right? Which means classic wedding and simple wedding. So passport, and you do need to have you need to know your social security number. Blood tests are not required. You remember that back in the day? I remember when my stepmom and dad got married, my stepmother and my father got married. I remember them having to do that. That was like early 98, 99 period. And you used to have a blood test to see if you were compatible back in the day. And they don't do that anymore. There's a 3-day waiting period. So if you do get married in the state of Florida and you do not take a premarital course, you have to wait 3 days. So you can't get married until that 3-day waiting period. It's kind of like a right to rescind, like in a loan document, where you can decide to change your mind. If you change your mind within that 30 days, you got a bigger thing, got a bigger issue. But you got to wait those 3 days. Or if you take a premarital course, and I'm reading this directly from the state of Florida site because I want to make sure I get this correct for those of you who may be interested. And I'll also put the site up there as well in the description, so you guys can go and actually see the information. But there's a 3-day waiting period before you can get married, unless you have completed the premarital course. Both of my couples that I had this week did that. They did the they didn't do the waiting period, but they did do the premarital course. I sent one to, and I need to, I forgot. I sent one to my client who they were military, and which is something that I found out too. They were military, and they wanted a course, so I sent them the link to a premarital course. It was like $14. So you're getting like a $18 to $20 savings depending on how much you pay for the course. But if you're military, that 3-day waiting period is waived, so you don't have to do that. And also, if you come from a different state, let's say you're coming from Texas, you can get married in Florida, there's no waiting period. So, that's only for Florida residencies. So, and these are things that you have to do, or things that the person is getting married. And I know I'm talking to two different audiences. I'm talking to officiants because it is important for you to know. And I'm talking to people who may be interested in getting married too, because it's important for them to know as well. And the reason why you want to know this information as an officiant is because they're going to ask you, what do we need to do? And you need to be ready. You're also going to have other things that they're going to want to do as well, or not want to do, that they're going to look for advice from. Like, I think I said this in a couple other videos. You are a bit of a job creator in some instance. I mean, because if you think about it, they're going to, not all the time, some couples are going to ask, do you know a photographer? Why, yes. Do you know a videographer? Why, yes. Do you happen to know a DJ? No, I do not. I actually don't know a DJ. Do you know an MC? And I actually do MC. And one of my weddings I am an MC for. And you just kind of have to figure out what works best for you. And you just need to price it out accordingly. My recommendation is to do what I did. Do a research for your particular area. See what the average price is, because it's different per area. Even different per zip code. So, the 125 that I was talking about might be 180 over in East Orlando. So, check that out and find out what works best for you. All right. So, I think that's regularly ordained ministers of gospel or elders in the community. I'm going to read this real quick. All regularly ordained ministers, myself, of the gospel, elders in a communion with some church or ordained clergies, and all judicial official officers. So like a judge or, a judge. People of clerk of courts, which is why people will get married in the courthouse. And all notary publics must solemnize, or not must, can solemnize the rights of matrimonial contract under the Florida Statute 741-0. And it has a link to it. If you would like to be able to perform marriages in the state of Florida, you can become a notary. You can do so by becoming a notary public. We offer services online, and that would actually take you to the Florida Notary Services is registration, and it will, like I said, I'm going to put this link in there so you guys will be able to kind of go and do that. $94, really? What'd you get with that? Yeah. Anyway, I've done all that. I've completed it, so it is a working title. I think that's all I got, to be honest, y'all. I do use my notary stamp, because I don't have a ministry stamp. I don't know if I should get one either. I'm debating on if I want to. I think I should, because it would be, I think it'd be better. You also want to make sure you know how to notarize. I mean, the documents, if you guys are familiar with notarizing documents, you'll be able to identify how to sign it. It's very easy, very quick. And the couples are actually going to be witnessed, have already signed, but you'll need witnesses. Now, in the state of Florida, it is not required, but to be honest, why not? You know what I'm saying? One of my couples on Wednesday actually had their grandparents, which was very sweet. And then one of my couples on the couples later on that day, they had their mom and their grandfather that did it. So, you know. And then on these marriage certificates that I have, they actually do have a place where you can, they have the witnesses in the presence of. It just makes your document look fully filled out. Looks good. So it'd be really nice if you had like a grandparent who, is quite older. Like, for example, my grandmother's 99. To get her to be able to sign it, and let's say something were to happen, this can become a memento of sorts. That grandma was there. So, and it's just, at the end of the day, it's really just having as much knowledge as you possibly can to help the customer. And I don't like calling them customers. I call them couples because that's what they are. Customer to me is like somebody going to Walmart and then, that whole ordeal. To me, they're clients, they're customers, or couples. And I think couples are just people who, it just sounds better. And then you can also offer, marital, premarital services. You can do, premarital therapy, those kind of things. But I don't recommend you kind of dig too much into that because a lot of that has to do with being certified, and that's a whole different bag. So I can't really advise on that too much. So, but that's all I got. It's been Reggie, and it's been another episode of Reggie's, not Reggie's Expressions, because that's my other thing. Go check that out. But it's been another episode of, not another episode. I need to get that shit right. Central Florida Notary. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this Sunday. It's been fun, and I hope you guys find this information helpful. Again, you can find me on all social media platforms under Eternal Union Weddings and Reggie's Mobile Notary, REGGEE, apostrophe S. You can also go to HTTP / semicolon Socogarn SOCOGARN -productions. Don't worry about it. I put it in the description to go look at the website. So thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's get this channel large, okay? Let's get it big. Let's get the information out there. And I thank you for everybody that's followed so far. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. All right. Bye, guys.